If you've ever driven this stretch of gravel out to Corinna, you've crossed Brown's Plains, probably without even knowing it. It's flat, empty, and kind of forgettable. But what if I told you this quiet patch of scrub was once the site of the West Coast's first gold rush, overlooked by a hill crowded with 500 men? And out there somewhere, still hidden in the bush, lies the lost gravesite of the man who helped kickstart it all. You probably wouldn't forget that. The year was 1878, and Tasmania's west coast mineral fields were just 2 years old. They were rich in promise, but so far no one had struck payable gold. That changed when Jack Brown made his mark on history. By his side was John Archu, an old Chinese prospector. The plains would take Jack's name, but it was well documented John did the heaviest share of work. He was generous, respected, and tough as they come. On one trip out from Waratah, he hoisted an 80-pound swag onto his back, then smiled and picked up the cradle too. A newspaper article from 1890 paints the scene of the rush. During one period of its prosperity, a small hill in the centre of the plain was entirely covered by tents containing a population of about 500 men, who during their short stay qualified themselves by their language for seats in the New South Wales legislature, in consequence of which the place is known to this day, and likely to be until it is wiped off the face of the earth, as Blackguard Hill. John, known to many as the Chinaman, was more than just a digger. He was a bush host, remembered for his hospitality. No traveller ever passed his camp without being offered plenty from his stores, which is no small gesture when every ounce had to be hauled 30 miles from Waratah on foot. By the next year, another rush had broken out, this time closer to the navigable waters of the Pieman River, in a creek discovered by Harry Middleton. Jack Brown and his mate John Archu followed the crowd to this new find, but not everyone was welcome. An article from 1896 tells of what happened next. After partaking of their fill when they needed it from the heathen Chinese, the diggers raised a hue and cry at his entrance into their charmed circle. Their supposed new El Dorado was not to be interfered with by such as he. Despite producing his papers of naturalisation and miners' rights, John was cast out, forced to shoulder his swag and retreat to the lonely edges of Brown's Plains. It was here he fell violently ill. The cold and hard years had caught up with him, and for weeks he lay alone in his hut, unvisited, unseen. Only Will Burns, the mailman, saw his condition and bought what supplies he could from Waratah, but it was too late. Two prospectors passing by heard his moans and stopped in. Even then, John insisted they make use of his supplies in camp, for he was dying and he knew it. His last request? Bury me as an Englishman. The men did their best to honour that wish. 7 months later, another group of miners passed through the dense scrub of Brown's Plains and stumbled upon a lonely grave beside a worked-out creek. A rough fence enclosed it. The slab stood at the head, once bearing an inscription on the canvas, now weathered blank. As one of them continued to write, naught was left to tell the traveller who it was rested beneath. Subsequently, we learnt that the grave was that of a Chinaman. He was found in a dying condition by some miners passing to the goldfield. His dying wish was that he should be buried like an Englishman, and the faithful fellows carried out his wishes to the best of their ability. In the 1890s, a new government road was built to support growing traffic through the region. It bypassed the original diggers' track entirely, cutting off access to the old camp and the quiet creek where John had been buried. John slipped quietly from the pages of history, his grave forgotten, his story untold, until now. Ah, hell yeah. This is what it's all about. Good weather on the west coast and a mystery. Good old treasure hunt. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Brown's Plains. She's pretty rugged, very overgrown in this day and age. But I've got a good feeling, I'm quietly confident that we're going to uncover some pretty awesome history today for old Johnny Archu, the old Chinaman. But before we do head down to Chinaman Creek, I want to head up to Blackguard Hill, which I think is this way. I was keen to explore the top of the hill, maybe find an old campsite or two, and fire up the detector to see if any targets were left behind by the rough old timers who called this place home over 140 years ago. The scrub, thick and tangled, just as you'd expect on the west coast, was going to make metal detecting a challenge, but I'd need the practice if I was going to try to relocate Johnny Archu. Before long I'd reached the top of the hill, and there, jutting out from the scrub, was the charred remains of a burnt tree. It reminded me of something I'd read about that happened up here. Back in the 1880s, lightning struck the very crown of the hill. A bolt hit a massive 150-foot tree and blew it apart like kindling, so violently that splinters were found over a quarter of a mile away, some driven deep into the earth. Even nature didn't hold back on Blackguard Hill. Oh, it's in the deeper part here. What is that? Yeah. That's a piece of rusted something. Something right here. Another old timer's nail. So I've been going for about half hour now. It's pretty tricky to find spots that are actually detectable. Like, to actually get onto a target takes a fair bit of luck, because I've only had two and they've both been nails, but there must be so much buried here that you just can't swing at. So I think I'm going to head down now. I've spent enough time up here and I'm kind of keen to go start piecing together the Chinaman story, so I'm going to head off Blackguard Hill and we'll make our way down to Dead Man's Hill. So Chinaman's Creek's down there somewhere. You can see as the slope leads down to the creek, the vegetation gets thicker. So we're going to try and trace it up here, bash up to the top of what I believe to be Dead Man's Hill, and then work our way down from there. I'm just following a bit of a wombat trail around the side of the hill. And then as we drop in, wow, look at that view. As we drop in, the old road should be on the north side of this hill, according to the LIDAR imagery. Okay, so we're just on the other side of Dead Man's Hill. Now, the old track, the original track, used to run down that spur there, the short vegetation. It went down behind those trees, straight through the short vegetation, and then this is the bower that the guys were talking about. They pushed through, and then they're at Chinaman's Creek, which is right in the center of the screen. So we've got to get down there and we'll try to find the old road, and then we'll line everything up from there with the descriptions of the newspaper articles, etc. I don't know if I've walked past it or not. It's pretty well camouflaged. Unless that's it right there where that button grass is. Yeah, it's got to be that, right? It's got the cutout there, little dugout. You can see that water soak there. That is part of the original track. And it leads along here, cut into the side. Yeah, that's definitely it. That's the old road. Out of the Barrow we entered upon Brown's Plains and came upon a worked out creek. Alongside the creek was a grave surmounted with a rough fence. Okay, so we know that it's down by the creek. So we'll follow the road down to where it crosses the creek and see what that area looks like. So I can hear the creek just inside of that scrub there. There is this little flat here off to the side that might be detectable for relics. Maybe we'll just stumble across it. Come on, Johnny. Give me a sign. Where was that little humpy? So in this type of scrub, the only thing I can really do is just take blind stabs at it where it will allow. But I am tracking my progress over the landscape so I can see where I've been. And I'm thinking that if I can colour in my map enough, there'll be very little likely ground that I haven't tried at least. So that's kind of my game plan with the detecting. So I'm heading down closer to the creek. I don't feel like any of this ground here is really potential for the hut. It just doesn't make sense when you've got that better ground up there that's flat, because this ground here is quite lopsided. But it doesn't mean it's not worth going over, because it would only take, you know, a pickaxe or something to tell me whereabouts his hut was. How close am I? I would love to know how close I've been to a relic. From here you can make out the old road quite well. Follows that line there and then drops down into the Chinaman's Creek and up there. Yeah, it's definitely been levelled. Quite a good grade actually. So I'm back on the old road now. I've just been detecting everywhere, but I'm looking again at the line that they would have come down that hill, and you can still see it like pretty clear. It goes from up there, the top of the grass, that dark line there, following the tip of the grass, and then straight down here, and then through those trees, and then up here onto the road. This road is a continuation over there as well. I've found the leader on the other side. It's just that you'd never see it in that thick scrub. Here with the button grass, it's easier to spot. Such a nice little flat right here, but I feel like I already went over this. Prime little flat. After about 2 hours of searching, I made my way back to the bag for lunch, but I wasn't expecting what I was about to find next. Holy crap, I've come back to get my bag, which I left at the tree here, and I'm just detecting here and there's a target. Just in case it is like John, I'm gonna take it pretty damn slow. But I reckon it's something big like a pickaxe. It's evidently quite deep. What is that? Could also be gold, you know. Whatever it is, it's right here. Yeah, bloody pickaxe. It's Johnny Archu's pickaxe head. Oh man. I'll take it down the creek, clean it up. Absolutely coated. Coated in rust. Probably pretty sturdy, so I might try chipping a bit off it with the shovel. Oh yeah, here it comes. Woohoo! Look at that! Comes off pretty easy. And it's a solid artifact too, so it can handle it. Oh man, such a cool piece. Still got the metal wedge in the top of it there, where they've split the timber, keep it nice and tight. Wow. Well, that is a pretty cool piece of history and a very good clue. We could be closer to his site than we think. So I've just continued on after lunch. I found this awesome flat here, but I haven't found any targets. But so far this has been the most promising flat. It's a little elevated and it's quite dry, but just no targets yet. I'm hoping that if I continue to put in the work here, I might be rewarded. So I've covered a lot of ground in this area, basically north of the road and like 50 meters from the creek. I've smashed that. Haven't come up with anything other than the pickaxe, which was down at the creek. So I'm thinking I might move back a bit. There was a spot on the other side of the hill that I saw on Leader that looked like a good flat, and it was near some trees. So I'm going to go up and check that out and give that a bit of a metal detect and see if there's anything hiding up there. See, these type of areas are prime for huts. Not flat though. It's got a lean on it, but look at the view here. Full sun. The one that I cased out on the Leader is not far from here, it's just over this hill. Here's my potential flat that I had marked out. It's a lot bigger and not as flat as I would have hoped. Just got to get lucky again. Just got to get lucky with bolts from the hut or cans or anything really. A tool. But the reason I haven't spent much time over here is because it's not as flat as the northern side. Nah, instinct keeps on driving me north of this road. I reckon there's something historic under these two trees. The moss tells the story. Not sure if that's hitting the cord or what, or if I actually just called it. You're joking. I got a bloody target under these trees. Holy crap, I just called it. I said, I reckon these trees, look at them. So it's just coming down here. I said, I reckon these trees have got something buried underneath them. The moss tells the story. And then bang, I got a target. This is insane. I don't believe it. Don't believe it. I'm gonna have to go get my shovel and pinpointer. I'll be back. Now, something pretty interesting about this target is this is the road here that leads up. So you can see the two sticks there. It's only about 5 meters from the road. So it was just in here. Let's see if we can't first pinpoint it. Doesn't look like it, so it's probably got some depth to it. Try and do this without removing that tree. Here we go. Is it out? It's a piece of wire. Can you see that? Piece of copper wire by the look of it. I began to think of what this could have possibly been used for. Could it have once held together the rough wooden fence that surrounded John Archu's grave? I'm getting a target in here somewhere. What the hell? That's going nuts in there. I'm gonna have to dig that up. Ah, yeah, more wire. The wire seemed to be spread over multiple spots, and I began to get more targets, these ones registering as iron.
Still in there, it's quite deep.
I was half expecting to come across a skeleton here, and then I saw something that made my heart sink. It looked like a finger bone. It felt wrong, and I was getting creeped out.
Yeah, I don't know. If I'm being completely honest with you, I would have loved to have found another thing other than just wire here, but I'm not willing to continue digging this because there's just something about it. Those two trees, like with the moss on them, I reckon this is Johnny's grave right here. So I'm not gonna dig anymore. There's nothing more to gain, I don't think. Like, wherever his grave is, it's here, and that, is the end of it. And if he needs a monument or something or whatever, then I would suggest that we follow suit with these, because I've got a feeling that he's under there.
After searching the entire area and finding only one spot that could likely be John's resting place, I decided it was time to give him a proper headstone. One made from hewn pine, built to withstand the elements. But just as it was ready to be installed, I uncovered two massive revelations, which, if proven to be true, will rewrite history once again.